Shelsley Walsh, the oldest motorsport venue in the world, where the top hill climbers in the country gather twice a year for rounds of the British Championship. Let's get a flavour of today's event from Shelsley's press officer Eddie Walder, who's talking to Tony Wiltshire.
Eddie, what can we expect to see today?
Some high-speed action of all sorts, from all eras of motorsport. We've got the Shelsley Specials here behind us. We've got Spider, which is an absolutely immortal Shelsley Walsh car, built in a shed by Basil Davenport back in the 30s, just to frighten off the Grand Prix cars of the day who used to come here. And with a disreputable car like this, he took the course record on several occasions and best time of the day on around 6 occasions.
Certainly there's a lot of history here. It's great to see the old cars that originally competed here, but huge disparity between the speeds of these guys and the national guys right at the front of the event.
Yeah, the national guys, including Martin Groves, well down into the 22 second, now 22.81 course record. You know, where else could you come to a church service before an event, then come down the hill into the paddock and see all this action with cars from the 1920s right up to today, with the very fastest cars in the world of hill climbing.
And that really is part of the unique atmosphere of Shelsley, isn't it? Different to all the other venues that we have in the UK.
That's right, it's almost a country estate in its own right. The club has been running events here since August 1905. The club's been in existence since January 1901. So that's an enormous heritage, and you've got to build on that, and you've got to respect that heritage too, and not change things too dramatically over the forthcoming years.
Absolutely, we've still got the old sheds here as pit garages, but there's a lot of work gone on the farm buildings with restoration to keep the whole place in absolutely tip-top condition.
That's right, there are fundraising efforts at the moment to raise money for the farmyard. That'll continue throughout this year, so we'll be promoting Shelsley in the form of a raffle, in the form of general fundraising, even down to a Black Country evening in about a month's time at the 100 House just down the road near Great Whitley.
Well, it sounds interesting, and it's very important to keep that history alive, that's for sure.
Well, we certainly intend to do that, and we'll do it as sympathetically as we can.
Glad to hear it. Have a good day, Eddie.
I will do, thank you.
With so much history surrounding Shelsley Walsh, there's a class that's been established for Shelsley Specials. One of the early versions of a Shelsley Special is this 1929 car known as Bloody Mary, and was built in 1929 by renowned motoring journalist John Bolster. These are steeped in history, and this is typical of those sorts of cars, of which we've got several running here today.
The Midland Automobile Club, who have run meetings here for over 100 years, regularly runs a special class for some of these unique Shelsley Specials, both ancient and modern. In fact, historic cars of all kinds form an integral part of any Shelsley meeting. One man who plays a big part in promoting historic hill climbing in general, and the Lotus marque in particular, is Bromsgrove-based Lotus specialist Paul Matty.
Paul, you've driven a variety of cars over the years. I've seen you in many of them. What is it you're driving today?
At the moment it's a Lotus 35, which is a Formula 2 car, monocoque construction. This is the only one that was built by the factory with a Lotus twin cam. A real 60s iconic car, the cigar shape of racing car, which really appeals to me. We've got, further down the line here, we've got the more wedgy shaped car, which came out in the 70s. The Formula Juniors, which predate my car, which is 65, the Formula Juniors being at 61.
Yeah.
And we've got, it's lovely to see that Lotus actually run a car with us, which is the Expose, which is a totally unique Lotus that they did a lot of development work, and actually it is one of the Lotus hierarchy that actually drive the car, so it's great for us, it's really good.
The other interesting aspect here as well, your car here in these beautiful classic Lotus colours, and of course Lotus introduced sponsorship in a big way to motorsport. We can see here the gold leaf colour on the Formula Ford car, and then at the end the JPS colours as well. So a real sort of evolution in one shot here, basically.
Absolutely. If people had never been to a motorsporting event, if they just looked at our championship, they would get a pretty good idea of how motorsport has evolved over the last sort of 20-30 years.
Absolutely. Paul, have a good day today yourself, and best of luck for the class as well.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's early morning at Shelsley Walsh and crowds begin to gather at favoured vantage points along the 1,000-yard stretch of tarmac over which competitors will race against the clock to reach the top in the shortest possible time. Let's take a look at just what they'll be facing as we take a ride in British Championship sponsor Mike Endine's awesome 700 horsepower Puma Gould. The Puma rockets off the start line and into the left-hander at Kennel. Still accelerating hard, we cut the apex and slide out towards the Recticel barrier. Now comes a fast, blind left-hander at crossing. A slight lift and it's full power through the kink where the top cars bottom out and hit almost 140 miles an hour into the Essendon approach. The dab on the brakes, it's hard into the first S, keeping tight to the left for the final, climbing right-hander. And the blast of the finish. That was a quick run, but the fastest man ever to climb Shelsley Walsh is defending British champion Martin Groves.
Here we are with Martin Groves, fresh from a round 8 win at Gerston Down, but having had a fair bit of work to do on the car during this week after a little moment at Carousel in round 7. Martin, busy week for you.
Yeah, it's been a busy week. Yeah, we finally got the car finished on Friday evening. Had to wait till Saturday morning for the nose cone to be cured in the autoclave, so hence we were a bit late here yesterday.
How did practice go for you yesterday morning?
We had some dramas. We got here yesterday lunchtime, got the car unloaded, and we had a problem with the ECU that controls the engine. So we had to investigate that, find out what caused that failure. So it meant we didn't run till very late last night, but car seems handling very nicely. We'll just see how it goes today.
Is the engine on song with the new ECU?
Difficult to tell. It feels a bit different, but you know, we've logged some data from yesterday. We'll have a look at that, and hopefully that'll tell us whether things are all well.
Well, Shells is all about power, so if it's got any deficit there, you'll certainly know about it today, won't you?
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's the finish straight Shells is quite a good dyno, so yeah, we should be able to tell from that.
Well, best of luck. Wish you a good day.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Hill climbing is renowned for being one of the friendliest of motorsport activities, and it's often very much a family affair too. Martin's wife Mandy and their 4 children are always very much involved in preparing the car. After a busy practice day spent sorting out problems with the rebuilt machine, still wearing several new and as yet unpainted carbon fibre body panels, it was late afternoon before Martin's driving partner Paul Ranson brought the car to the line for its first shakedown run on Saturday. David and Sean Gould and the team at Newbury had worked hard over the last 5 days, including the Maybank holiday, since the Gerston accident, and Paul was about to find out just how effective the work had been. Very was the answer. It's a quick practice run from Ranson, just what the team needed to set them up for the following day's championship battle. Now it's Sunday and the first set of competition runs from which only the 12 fastest competitors will qualify for the first of 2 runoffs for British Championship points. That was Mark Goodyear's OMS Suzuki, and this is Keith Edwards in the spectacular Audi Quattro. A real Q car now, and believe it or not, Martin Pike's record-breaking Mark 1 Escort is powered by an 1800cc Ford Crossflow. He's up against much bigger capacity opposition in this amalgamated class today, but just watch his dynamic technique as he wrings the utmost from the car. Cornwall-based Jeff Twemlow travels far and wide to drive in British Championship events. Still exploring the limits of his latest Impreza, he leaves his braking just a little bit late for the S's. The prolific constructor of OMS cars, Steve Owen, has brought along his latest carbon fibre tub version with a 1660cc Suzuki Hayabusa installed. Also from the 2 litre class, this is Tim Elmer in one of the Vauxhall-powered Dallara Formula 3 chassis that are becoming increasingly popular for hill climbing. But Tim's got a problem. The engine cover has become detached. He heads for the finish line as the hot exhaust does its best to destroy the errant bodywork. Simon Rutland now, one of the 2 rapid Kentish brothers that drive this Steve Owen built space frame OMS Hornet. Simon's really pushing hard in the 1100cc Yamaha engine machine, chasing class leaders Darren Luke and Brodie Branch in their fours. But sadly, the brothers' challenge is set to end prematurely when John crashes the car. Young Robert Kenrick is a real giant killer in his tiny bike-powered fours. It's another superb run from the Welshman, which qualifies yet again for a place in the Elite 12. Here's another 2 litre Dallara, perhaps the quickest one of all at the hands of Paul Hames. Paul's not only looking for a class win over Tom New, but also to beat his rival to a place in the opening runoff. Sure enough, he finds the pace to take the class lead and to book his place in the top 12. So here is New. Just listen to that Rover KV6 blast his pill beam off the line. Although sadly, his morning pace will fall short of Hames. But it's early days yet for New. Blink and you'll miss him. Trevor Willis is one of the rising stars of top level hill climbing and firmly books his place in the opening runoff with the OMS PowerTech. So as championship leader Scott Moran comes to the line in his Nicholson McLaren V8 powered Ghoul for his first qualifying run of the day, he's confident that he'll make the cut. But he knows that barring misfortune, Groves will too. It's a quick, confident run from Scott, not ultimately fast but rapid enough to put Martin under pressure. Well, despite that quick run from Scott Moran, it's Martin Groves that tops the qualifying sheets for the first of our 2 British runoffs by just 1400ths of a second. Groves' co-driver Paul Ranson backs him up well, just a couple of tenths behind, while Chris Merrick, Shelsley expert Derek Young and the dynamic Trevor Willis round off the top 6 qualifiers. Paul Hames' Dallara is the first non-V8 in the lineup, which is completed by the amazing Force Hayabusa of Robert Kenrick. Join us after the break for more British Championship hill climb action. Welcome back to Shelsley Walsh and Saturday's practice session, where a newcomer to the 1600cc single-seater class, Lee Griffiths, is about to take a second run in his new car.
The car's an OMS Hornet, space frame chassis, single-seater, so small, lightweight, powered by bike engine. So 1300cc Hayabusa engine, just running the standard engine for this season, but it's pretty quick still. Been here a couple of times before with my old car, so I was in a Peugeot 205 before, so you know nothing like as quick really. So it's yeah, a learning experience going up here. First run was just a blur, to be honest. You know, no sense of what was happening. What I normally get, especially if it's raining before you set off, is now be careful and take it easy. You know, it's not really the general concept.
Don't break anything.
But in the afternoon, things didn't go quite so well for Lee.
In practice yesterday, we saw Lee Griffiths had quite a shunt where he rolled his OMS. This morning he's back at the Hillclimb, looking around the paddock. Lee, good to see you back here at the venue.
Thank you.
Nasty moment yesterday.
Indeed.
How are you?
So yeah, in one piece, feeling a little bit stiff this morning, but you know, surprisingly okay really. Yeah, pretty good. So thankful that I'm in one piece really. Everything on the car did what it should, fell off and kept me in one piece. So
absolutely good to see you walking around and
yeah.
Healthy. How about the car? You've obviously had a good look around that. Much damage to that?
Looks better this morning than it did last night anyway. So yeah, 3 of the 4 corners are bent wishbones, a couple of the uprights, some of the hubs, but it's not too bad actually. I think it's mostly bolt-on stuff, so get it back to Steve at RMS and let him have a look at it really.
Does the chassis still look straight?
The bulk of the chassis, yeah, around the engine cradle, a little bit of twisting on one side, but the bulk of it's pretty straight, I think, yeah.
Well, demonstrated that was a remarkably strong car then.
Yeah, very much so. So yeah, happy to be out in one piece really.
We normally talk about winter rebuilds, but this one's obviously going to be a summer one, eh?
Unfortunately, yeah, but hopefully be back out for well, Shelsley on the 17th really. It'd be nice to be back here for August.
Well, that's the attitude, and we wish you well with the rebuild.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
As in all forms of motorsport, the choice and condition of tyres are critical. Particularly so in the case of the specialist soft compound racing slicks, mainly produced by Avon and supplied by BMTR in Birmingham, that are used in hill climbing. You can see from the way that Iron Price is working away at the wheel of his OMS that his tyres are fast approaching their sell-by date. Wayward handling, almost terminal understeer at bottom S, and a distinct lack of grip out of top S are just some of the pointers that lead Einan to arrive at a painful but necessary decision.
The nature of speed hill climbing means that tyres are absolutely critical, and they're very special compounds. Einan, new set of tyres for the weekend, absolutely critical to your performance, I guess.
Very critical to these type of cars. We've had problems with the car at the beginning of the season. We've had some bent parts on the car, which has actually spoiled the tyres, and we can't bring them back, although there's plenty of rubber left on them, but we just can't get them back to perform as I would like them. So I think it's time to put some new tyres on the car, because I'm running like second in the class at the moment, good points. So I think I can gain probably over a second and a half today by putting new tyres on, because these cars are so delicate. You know, they just want new rubber, you know. And
yes, once those tyres have lost their edge, I know what you mean. They just will not come back, will they? Especially if they've been through some heat cycles.
That's right, because the car hasn't been in line properly. It's put too much heat into them, and we rub the top layer off with a surf foam, but we just can't get him back. So I thought it's time to have some new rubber now. I know it's a fair bit of money, but
well, let's hope your investment pays off, and have a good day today. See what time you can gain from it.
Good, thank you very much. Yeah.
You're welcome.
So now equipped with new rubber, former rally driver Price is determined to catch the man who leads the 1600cc racing car class. As that happens to be Robert Kenrick, who's already storming Shelsley at runoff pace in his fourth, he has quite a task on his hands, but his OMS is clearly handling better on new tyres, and Price finds an improvement in time. Unfortunately, so does fellow OMS driver James Blackmore, who edges Einan out to third place at the end. Ah well, that's hill climbing for you. The fastest 12 drivers from the morning's class runs are now preparing for the first of today's British Championship runoffs. First away, Roger Moran is into the mid-24s, but here's Paul Ranson, who qualified third fastest. He's determined to get into the 23s in the Gould NME, with which co-driver Martin Groves will shortly be mounting his comeback challenge. Sparking through the kink, Ranson already into the S's. It's a quick, tidy run from Ranson. In fact, it's one of his best, a personal best in fact, 23.31, which puts him firmly into the lead. Now let's ride with Robert Kenrick, whose total commitment in the tiny bike engine force made the cut for this opening runoff of the day. Quite a feat at Shelsley amongst the big V8s. In goes the clutch and the force high booster launches off the line. Now we're riding with Kenrick. Watch those minimal steering wheel movements. The Welshman uses a very quick rack in this car, so hardly needs to move the wheel at all, but he's flat through the kink now, coming into the S's. Just a slight tweak left hand on the wheel, and now off to the right with quick corrections to keep the back of the car in check as he heads for the finish line. Well, 25.93 is not his best run today, but Kenrick slots into third place for the time that only a few years ago would have broken Shelsley's outright record. Mark Coney and his brother Andy have really started to find their feet after a couple of lean years in their V6 Gould. This is Mark's third runoff appearance of the year. He'll be determined to get a few more points on the board. He's a couple of scores up on his brother at the moment, but he's away from the line in this Opel V6 engine Gould, one of the earlier GR55 models. Tight round the approach to crossing and very quick through the left-hander. He's already up into the S's. It's hard on the brakes now for that quick left and right before the finish line. Now in sight, heading up over the line, weaving from side to side. 25.59. Coley edges out Kenrick for third place. The top 2 litre driver in the runoff, Paul Hames, qualified the Dallara in 10th place. Just outside the top 10 in the championship standings at the moment, Hames will be aiming to match rival Tom New and make it into the overall top 10 by the end of the season. He's into the run now, past the waiting photographers at Kennel Bend and up into crossing. A typically smooth run from Paul Hames, Steady on the brakes into the S's, but is it going to be quick enough? Runs a little bit wide in the midsection, but he's now heading for the finish line. And it's a disappointing run for Hames, who's unable even to match the dynamic Kenrick's time in the 1600cc force. But with just the fastest 10 scoring, both will finish out of the points in this runoff. Basil Pitt now in the latest Gould GR55C with just 2.8 litres of Nicholson McLaren V8 power. Basil's having his best season so far, heading for the kink now, and sparks come from the skid blocks as he comes into the braking area, flames from the exhaust into the S's now, and very close to the bank coming out of the top S. This is a hard trying run from Basil Pitt, 24.88, quick enough to snatch third place from Mark Coley. Josh Goodyear finished in second place at Harewood a few weeks ago, so he'll be using all the power of the 4 litre Pilbeam V8 to try and match that performance here at Shelsley. One of the biggest cars in the event, a bit of a tail slide as he comes out of kennel, but he's safely through crossing now. Just the S's approaching now at getting on for 130 plus miles an hour. Slides wide in the first part of the S's, but keeps the power on through the complex. It's another 23-second run and a personal best from him right up into second place. Derek Young's had several outright wins already here at Shelsley Walsh in club events, so he knows the hill well. Blasts off the line, gets the car sideways as he passes box pillar and gets very close to the bank on the exit of kennel, brushes the verge again as he comes into crossing, and now Young charging into the S's in the big 4 litre Gould jug. Smoothly through the final complex, just a bit of a tail wag before getting the power down on the run to the finish line, and it's another 23-second run. Chris Merrick's having his best season yet in his own 4 litre Gould jug. 4th overall in the championship, he has yet to win a British Hillclimb round, but he's almost matching the place of the top 3 qualifiers. And the former policeman really pushing on hard with the Jaguar Green Gould. He's been driving it for several seasons now, well used to the car. That first win surely can't be too far away. He's already out of the S's, a tight line, heading for the finish. It's 23.99 and Merrick just fails to match Goodyear's pace in the Pilbeam. So Paul Ranson still leads this runoff with a 23.31, and it's all down now to the final 2 runners. Scott Moran comes to the line with a healthy championship lead, but he knows that Martin Groves, last to run, will be fighting hard to get back into contention. Moran launches off the line. Tremendous record so far in this year's British Championship. This is a very perfect, tidy run from Moran. As always, very quick into the bottom S and quickly through the complex. Very close to the bank on the exit though, but the finish line is in sight now. It's a 23 seconds dead, and Scott Moran takes the lead once again with the fastest time of the day so far. So now defending British champion Martin Groves brings the Gould enemy to the line and promptly stalls the engine. Martin knows he must get a good result today if he's to keep his hopes alive of a fight back into championship contention. Richard Dunn comes up with the battery trolley, plugs it in, and Martin restarts the car. Dogged by problems so far this year, he's only 5th on the championship table and really under pressure from series leader Scott Moran, who he beat to the title last season. Can Martin respond? He waits for the green light and gets it, and he's away into the run. This will be another typical Groves fight back. A lot of leeway to make up, using all the road on the exit of kennel. Phenomenally quick through crossing bend as ever. Leaves the braking really late on a 140 mile an hour approach into the S's. He's already out of the top part of the complex. Martin Groves heads for the line, and 22.71. Groves breaks his own hill record by a 1/10 of a second. The new record gives Martin Groves an 11-point maximum score, and his fight back up the championship table gets a boost as he moves up a place to 4th. Scott Moran, although 2nd in the runoff, is still way out front in the championship, but a fine 3rd place for Paul Ranson lifts him up the table to level with rising star Josh Goodyear in 7th spot after the first of today's 2 runoffs. Now let's get a driver's eye view of the winning run as Martin Groves makes the fastest ever ascent of the oldest motorsport venue in the world. So as Martin Groves and the Gould V8 roll back down Shelsley Walsh to applause from the large crowd, we look forward to more top-class hill climbing in the afternoon runs and another all-action British Championship runoff. Join us again after the break. We are back at Shelsley Walsh for the second half of this Nicholson McLaren British Hillclimb Championship meeting. Let's join Tony Wiltshire in the paddock.
Here we are with Paul Ranson and Martin Groves, who share the Gould GR55. We've had a very successful 9th round of the championship, with Paul finishing 3rd, Martin finishing 1st. Paul, very successful run for you in the 9th round, 3rd place in the runoff, personal best as well as the time, I believe.
Yes, I'm very happy with that. That's 2/10 better than I went up last year, so I'm very pleased.
Do you think that's in the car or yourself?
A bit of both, I think. The car's a bit better than it was last year, and just found a bit more time, basically.
Okay.
Hold the throttle open for longer.
Martin, not only 1st place, but beating your old record as well. That must have taken some doing today.
Well, I saw Paul's time come up, and I thought, gosh, that was rather quick. Then Scott, slightly quicker than Paul. I thought, if I'm not careful, I'm going to end up 3rd here. So it was a case of, well, we've just got to go for it.
Absolutely. And you know, today I wouldn't have thought there was a record in the hill in terms of the temperature. You know, relatively dull day. Did that surprise you that time?
I was a little surprised because the car was very good on the bottom part of the hill, but going through the top S, a little bit understeer. I felt I was late on getting on the throttle towards the finish, so I really wasn't expecting to see what I saw on the clock at the finish.
You guys, you know, you share the car. Hill climbing, as we've seen, is all about absolute commitment and being at one with the car. How do you get on in terms of driving style and setup of the car? Do you manage to run with the car pretty much the same for one another?
Yeah, it's set up the same for both of us. It's just literally to change drivers. It's a question of a seat change, and that's it. Paul's obviously a fair bit taller than me, but we've managed to find a position that we can both comfortably have the pedals set up. But no, we don't make any other changes.
And the car for you, Paul, I mean, you're going quicker and quicker in it this season. Is that time in the car for you, do you think?
A little bit, I should think, yes, and attitude, mind, it's all in the mind.
Pulling that last 10th out.
Exactly, and I also know exactly where I'm slow because I've got the data for Martin.
That's very true. You can compare your times and pool your knowledge.
That's an advantage and a disadvantage. You know, you have to use that in the right way.
Yeah, absolutely, I can understand that. Well, 10th round about to come up. Best of luck for the afternoon, guys.
Thank you very much.
Well done. Thank you.
Good.
As the cars line up at the paddock exit to take their second class runs of the day, here's a reminder of the format of a British Championship hill climb meeting. With the field split into classes determined by type of car and engine capacity, each competitor takes 2 runs, of which the faster one counts. In each set of class runs, drivers qualify for each of the 2 point-scoring British Championship runoffs, but only the fastest 12 registered contenders get to take part. So the race is on not only to qualify each time, but to score points in the runoffs themselves. 10 for the win, down to 1 point for 10th place. And here's a man who scored more than a few championship points in his time, motorsport legend Tony Marsh. British Hill Climb champion on a record 6 occasions, with a hat-trick of titles in the 1950s and another in the 60s, Tony's one of the great motorsport all-rounders. His career has encompassed virtually every discipline from auto tests and trials to Grand Prix racing, where he's raced wheel-to-wheel with top exponents such as Juan Fangio and Sterling Moss. Now, at 76 years young, Tony's still competing in his V6 Gould at Shelsley Walsh, where he set countless outright records in the 50s and 60s. Away from the line goes Marsh. He's no longer a regular British contender, he just does it for fun these days. but Tony still enjoys every moment of a hill climb career that's lasted for over 56 years. We saw John Bolster's famous Shelsley special Bloody Mary earlier. Here's a modern day equivalent, Carl Scholler's unique 6-wheel beam-axled Spectre. Caterhams and Westfields are enormously popular in hill climbing, and Chris Jones demonstrates why. He flings his Caterham into bottom S and just makes the bend, with plenty of excitement at top S2. Roger Banks and the Audi A4 have been setting the hills alight over the last couple of years, and it's not hard to see why. His twin-turbo, four-wheel drive machine, built by Keith Murray at Dialinks, is a fearsome bit of kit. The combination of Banks and the Audi is a real crowd pleaser, with flames from the exhaust and knife-edge handling. Phenomenal pace, even through the twisty bits, takes Banks to yet another class win. Here's Martin Pike again in the amazing Escort Crossflow. Despite running alongside Banks' Audi due to class amalgamation, Pike holds nothing back, hurling the rear-wheel drive Mark 1 through the S's in typical style. This is real 10-10 stuff from Martin as he chases the four-wheel drive cars hard. Now it's back to Tony, who's with June Matty.
June Matty, how long have you been competing in motorsport?
This is my 12th season now.
I see you driving a Formula Junior car today, but I know you've driven a variety of cars. How do you like this car?
Well, this is fantastic. I just love single-seaters. I started off in a Elan Plus 2 to cut my teeth on. And then I went to the Ian Walker Elan Racing Elan, and that was superb. But I really love the single-seaters. I just feel at home with it, you know.
You can feel at one with the car. And,
oh yeah, this is such a pretty little car as well, you know.
I certainly think racing cars from this era really have a beautiful appearance.
Yeah. Got character.
So you look at you're more into the looks of the car than the technical aspects of it.
Well,
then.
I like it to sound nice. It's got a sweet engine, you know, and you know, it's only a little car. It's a 1100cc, you know, but it suits me.
Well, they're certainly lightweight cars as well, so power to weight ratio is pretty good.
Yeah.
So, a lot of fun on the hill today.
Fantastic, and hopefully it will stay warm and dry, so we should get some good times.
Well, we wish you luck and have a good day.
Thank you,
June.
Thank you.
Well, from one small blue single-seater from an earlier era, it's back to one from the present day. We saw a driver's eye view of Robert Kendrick's fourth Hayabusa in part 2. Here's what the ever-spectacular Welshman's car looks like from the outside as he attempts to qualify once again at the fastest hill climb in the country. Away from the line, and Robert's giving it everything. The car darts from side to side using all the road, but not once overstepping the mark. It's another superb run from Kenrick, which qualifies in 10th place, once again quicker than the 2-litre cars of Tom New and Paul Hames. Back in the paddock, Tony talks to Hames.
Here we are after the first runs with the 2-litre class leader Paul Hames. Paul also qualified for the runoffs with a splendid time. Paul, how did that run go for you?
The class run was good, just 300ths off my best, so yeah, that was good, and it's certainly not as warm here today as it was when I set that time last October. But the runoff was a bit of a mistake. Turned in too early into Kennel Bend, and then had to sort of come out of it and then commit the car again. So that sort of unsettles everything. And once you lose time at the bottom of the hill here at Shelsley, you're going to suffer all the way up to the top, you know, and then your speeds are down, everything's slower than it needs to be. So very difficult to get that time back.
So it compromised your qualifying time?
Yeah, it did. As I say, I think there's a little bit more in the car this weekend if I can get my head in gear and put a good run together this afternoon. So.
Well, pressure will be on because Tom New and yourself have really sort of dominated the 2-litre class over the last couple of seasons. Yeah. Tom's a couple of tenths behind you. How do you feel about that?
Well, for me to beat Tom here is a real... It's very, very rare. I've only ever beaten him here once, and that was when we were both in a different class with different cars. So, he'll be trying, and he's very, very quick. I think it's probably his favourite venue. He goes very well, and I'm always trying. So, if I can get the win, I'll be delighted. But I have a feeling I might be second at the end of the day. But we'll do the best.
Well, we'll watch that with interest, and best of luck.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Paul.
Cheers, Tony.
Here's Hames in action on the second run, desperate to hang on to his lead and take the win from Tom New at Shelsley Walsh. 28.58 is quicker than before, but will it be quick enough? So Tom New brings the V6 Rover K powered Pilbeam to the line for his final attempt to snatch the 2 litre win from Hames. Not only that, but after missing out this morning, he'll be determined to make the cut for the second runoff. He's the current 2 litre record holder, but he's got to get pretty close to that mark to beat Hames today. New's record stands at 25.39 and he looks on course to get close as that as he launches a Pilbeam into kennel. Flat through crossing, we can see just how low he runs the car as sparks fly from the skid blocks. 25.40 is a 100th away from his record. It's another class win for New. Joss Goodyear and the Pilbeam MP97 are one of the most improved combinations of 2008. With a 4 litre Judd KV4 now installed in the back of the car and ProDrive WRC rally technician Goodyear adjusting his busy schedule to fit in the majority of British Hillclimb rounds this year, he's rapidly climbing up the championship table, boosted by that recent second place at Harewood. His is a somewhat wild, spectacular style, but it gets results. 5th in this morning's runoff, he'll be aiming for even greater things this afternoon. Blasting off the line, the Pilbeam leaps over the brow and rockets into kennel. On the exit, the car snaps sideways, but Goodyear definitely corrects and heads for a 4th place qualifier. Now it's Shelsley expert Derek Young and the methanol-fueled Gould V8, having switched from the eco-friendly bioethanol fuel he ran earlier this year in the interest of the sheer power required on the steepest hill in the championship. He qualifies 5th, just behind Goodyear. Just a week ago, Basil Pitt so nearly took his first ever British runoff win at his home hill, Gurston Down. On the very last run, he was denied victory by an on-form Trevor Willis. Like Willis, he runs a 2.8 litre engine, but in the very latest Gould GR55C chassis, so both drivers are at a slight disadvantage on a hill where power really tells. It shows in the time, and although Pitt makes the cut, it's in 9th place, just behind Willis. We saw Martin Grove's record run from the cockpit of the Gould in part 2, so now let's compare his style with that of his co-driver Paul Ranson. Always quick at Shelsley, Ranson's just 6/10 outside Grove's new hill record today and is already a clear 3rd fastest overall behind championship leader Scott Moran. The Gould too is on top form following 5 days of preparation at the Newbury Works, and the Banbury computer engineer is taking full advantage of that as he slots once again into a strong 3rd qualifying place. So the Moran-Groves duel is really at fever pitch as we await the final runoff of the day here at Shelsley Walsh. The 2 championship rivals are tied for the top qualifying place. Paul Ranson lurks behind, well within striking distance, and another all-out effort by Joss Goodyear heads Derek Young by just over a 10th. Join us after the break for more British Championship hill climb action. Back at Shelsley Walsh, it's now late afternoon. The track temperatures dropped a bit as the 12 runoff contenders come to the line for their final chance of the day to score championship points. First away, it's Roger Moran, who tied for 6th place on the qualifying sheets with Chris Merrick. As his son Scott, the championship leader, was joint fastest in qualifying with Martin Groves and will run last, Roger won't want to jeopardise Scott's chances, so on this run, he might just keep a little in reserve. It's a good launch from Roger as the Gould charges up the rise into kennel, and a tidy line as he storms up towards crossing and turns into the left-hander. Bounding over the bumps through the kink, Roger clocks a fairly conservative 115 miles an hour into bottom S, but he really gives it the gun up the finishing straight, clocking 144 miles an hour over the line. 24.38 will leave him in 6th place at the end of this final runoff of the day. Only Groves and Scott Moran have run quicker than Paul Ranson today, and if Paul can repeat this morning's 3rd place finish, it could take quite a leap up the championship table. Lower ambient temperatures might stem his pace a little, but it's the same for everybody. As he spins the oven rears to get as much heat in them as possible, the eagle-eyed Groves picks a stone from the sticky carcass just as the light goes green. Ranson selects the gear on the sequential box and launches into the run. It looks good up into kennel, equally quick into crossing, through the kink and up into the bottom S. The Gould clocks over 136 miles an hour before braking late into the left-hander. The car understeers and runs wide down the camber, but Ranson recovers well, blasting out on top S and heading for the line to match Moran Senior's 144 mile an hour terminal. Fittingly, 23.47 will maintain third place at the end. Paul Hames and the 2 litre Delara Vauxhall just lost out to Tom New in the class runs and shadowed his rival in qualifying for the final runoff. But it's a level playing field now and he'll be determined to turn the tables on New's virtual domination of Shelsley. He settles down in the seat, adjusts his visor and waits for the green light as photographers line up the smart blue and white Formula 3 car in their viewfinders. On goes the green, away goes Hames and the nimble Delara heads for kennel. This is a neat and tidy run, swift through crossing, and the New Techniques Vauxhall, prepared incidentally by his great rival, is clearly on song as he heads into bottom S at 130 miles an hour. A perfect line through the bends and he's away to the finish. But a 26.11 lacks his previous pace. He might just have left the door open for New. Well, New would have seen Hames' time displayed on the roof of the Vox Villa commentary box, but he knows that in their relatively underpowered cars, and with Robert Kenrick waiting in the wings too, he's still going to have to fight hard to salvage that single point for 10th place. All eyes are on the Pilbeam V6 as it hurtles into kennel. More sparks as it bottoms out on the entry to crossing and a real firework display as the car bounds over the bumps at the kink. But this is a tremendous run from New. Carrying speed through the S's, he wastes no time in sliding the car. It's the perfect exit and a 25.82 will eventually earn him that coveted point for 10th place, ahead of Hames. We've been here before, but we're sure you'd like another chance to ride with Robert Kenrick in the incredible Force Hayabusa. Power to weight ratio is the name of the game here and Kenrick exploits it to the full. Working away at the high ratio steering, correcting every movement of the car with a twitch of the wheel. Head down, Kenrick's over the line for an eventual 9th place with a 25.66, quicker than both the 2 litres. 9th fastest qualifier Basil Pitt brings his smaller capacity 2.8 litre Gould V8 to the line. Poacher Pitt, as he was dubbed after bagging 3 brace of pheasant with his F3 Brought at Wiscombe Park several years ago, is having a great season, having worked his way up to a career best 6th place on the championship table. Snaking the Gould off the start line, Basil gives it everything on the run up to kennel and uses all the road on the exit. He dives into crossing and hurtles full bore through the kink and into the S's. At 15.8 seconds of the split, he's almost on the par with Roger Moran's pace, but loses out on the long drag to the finish. A 25.11 will leave him 8th. With the win already in the bag this year and lying 2nd overall in the championship, Trevor Willis is having his best season so far. His OMS PowerTech V8, based on 2 Hayabusa motorcycle cylinder blocks, is a little outgunned by the big hitters, but he makes up for that with enormous commitment and car control. Few drivers are quicker through kennel than Trevor, but he loses out a touch on the steep rise to crossing. It's still a quick run though, and sparks fly before the front end patters under heavy braking and he locks a wheel into the S's. But only Moran and Ranson are quicker to the split so far, and Willis crosses the line just 100th shy of Moran's time for an eventual 7th place. After a long career in saloons, clubmen's cars and a variety of single-seaters, Chris Merrick has yet to win a British Championship round. He's certainly not short of determination though, and 2008 could just be his year. So after getting plenty of heat into the rear tyres for his final big effort of the day, Merrick gets the green light. Spinning the rears under full power over the brow, he heads for kennel. This is a quick one and he exits with plenty of room to line up for crossing. Safely through the fast left-hander, it's another skid block firework display before braking hard for the S's. Only Ranson's quicker to the split, Merrick arrows out of top S and heads for the line to stop the clocks on 23.90. That'll be good enough for a clear 4th place. Caroline Ryder and Sue Young remove the protective film from the Gould Judd's front tyres as Derek Young rolls the car up to the line for his final run of the day. A prolific winner in club events at his local hill, Derek knows that the stakes are somewhat higher today, but that will make him even more determined to give it everything once the light goes green. He does just that, but there's a problem. In fact, a drive shaft CV is broken. Wife Sue, multiple Shelsley ladies record holder in the car, just can't believe it. Joss Goodyear's Pilbeam, now in MP97 guise, has been steadily developed over the years. Now running a 4-litre Judd V8 and Ricardo gearbox, and with Pilbeam's resourceful Mick Howlett in attendance, the man who took his sole British win at Gersten Downs some 5 years ago is really coming to the fore with a much more reliable car. Already 7th on the championship table, he has a top 6 placing in his sights today. Really laying rubber off the start line, Goodyear charges into kennel. The car gets momentarily out of shape, but the driver soon has it back in line and heads full bore into crossing. Powering through the kink and into bottom S at almost 130 miles an hour, the car snaps sideways, but Goodyear checks the slide and once round top S gets back on the power. Well, that slide cost time, but 24.28 will be good enough for 5th place. Keen to add a second win to his day's tally, Groves wastes no time coming to the line in the Patchwork Gould NME. It's straight into gear and away. Once again, the British champion is on a mission. Devastatingly fast through the lower reaches, his pace through crossing makes spectators take a step back as he hurtles into the S's braking area at almost 140 miles an hour. Quickest by far to the split, Groves' final run of the day must be a winner. At 22.90, it's certainly the lead so far. So only one man can now deny Groves the Shelsley double, and that's Scott Moran. Over the last year or so, he's proved more than capable of beating Groves at his own game, and he's clearly out to do so again. It's a tidier, less frantic run than Groves is, but with 22.90 to beat, will it be fast enough? It's certainly not short of commitment, but Scott's 2 tenths down at the split. He runs a fraction wide out of top S, just brushing the bank. Does that spell the end of his challenge? It does, by just 13 hundredths of a second. So after a spectacular day at Shelsley Walsh, Scott Moran enjoys a 31-point championship lead, but just 1 point behind second place man Trevor Willis. Martin Groves is fighting back strongly. Join us again at Loughton Park for the next stage of this exciting contest.